Welcome everybody. Welcome to our GANYC monthly meeting. My name is Rose Schmavonian. I am the co-vice president standing in for Michael Morgenthau, who is in DC, although he sends his best. Before we get started, I want to just go through a few rules of the road. Most people will know what these are. Some people are newer to the organization. First of all, please silence your cell phones. And I see someone also silencing his Apple Watch. Do that as well. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. If you have a red badge, you are a guest. We're so happy to have you here. However, you cannot address the regular meeting. We're happy to talk to you afterwards, but you can't get up and address the meeting, nor if a vote is called, can you vote. If you have a green badge, you can speak to the meeting, you can vote, you're one of our active members. If you have a blue badge, you are now part of our new emeritus membership level. You can speak, but not vote. When we get to a point where we're asking questions or asking for people to speak, the rules are stand up, say your name, ask a question. You get asked to do a second question, stand up a second time, say your name a second time, ask your second question. Before we get started with the President's report, can I get a motion to approve the agenda from the previous meeting? I see a motion, see it seconded. Can I see by a show of hands, everyone wants to approve? Fantastic. Okay, so we are here at Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center. It's such an honor to be here. We're going to ask Bob to come up and introduce you to our people from Pride Live, Anne-Marie Gothard, yes, and co-founder and board chair and general manager Keith Goralchuk. They are hosting us both for the meeting and for the visit before the event, so thank you so much. Keeping stories like Stonewall alive is what we tour guides do. We all recognize the significance of this place, which is not just one of the most important LGBTQ plus rights locations of the past century, but one of the most important civil rights locations of the past century. No bonfire. LGBTQ rights are civil rights, and until all of us enjoy the same rights and protections from our government, none of us enjoy those rights. And that's why it was so heartening to see the Trump administration have to backtrack on removing the pride flag from the federal flagpole across the street at the Stonewall National Monument in April. Our shared history cannot be erased or whitewashed. That's why the role of the tour guide is more vital than ever, to help keep these stories alive and to bring them to our guests who may or may not know their significance. I think we all saw a Facebook thing going around today that we can talk about afterwards. GANYC looks forward to having a long and lasting partnership with Pride Live. So in the face of strong headwinds for our industry, self-bookings, competition from AI, predatory practices of some OTAs, and keep doing what you do best, which is to share the stories of New York with the world. To share these stories, however, customers need to find you. GANYC tries to promote our members at every chance we get, and next week we'll be exhibiting at the MTA Staycation Showcase. We will have marketing materials that will point back to GANYC.org, where potential customers can find you. But they can only find you if your profile is live on the site. So we mentioned this a few months ago, but it bears repeating. We currently have 371, and is that actually up now? I think currently 370, I think it's actually more than that now, active members, but only 257 members, or 69%, have live searchable profiles on the website, which ranks really high in the SEO And if you Google New York City tour guides, GANYC's Hire a Guide page is the first result after their sponsored visits. So as we start to roll out new initiatives to promote GANYC and our member guides, it's important to have that profile live and up to date. You're not going to find all of your business from this resource, but it's a really major part of the puzzle. So just without reading on this, go in, update your profile, make sure it's live, and contact the IT committee if you're having any problems. Moving on, we're talking about National Travel and Tourism Week, which we're right in the middle of. This is an annual initiative of the U.S. Travel Association to highlight travel's essential role in driving economic growth, creating jobs, and enhancing the quality of life across the United States. Since 1983, the industry has come together each May to recognize and amplify the impact of travel in communities nationwide. In 2026, the theme, postmarked essential, highlights the simple truth. Travel is not optional. It's fundamental to America's economy, workforce, and way of life. Every trip taken, every visitor welcomed, and every experience created leaves a mark on communities across the country. Travel drives opportunity, fuels growth, and keeps America connected. The U.S. Travel Association has posted their toolkit for this year's initiative, and we'll have that posted on the website. Other big updates. World Cup is coming the big FIFA World Cup is coming June 13th, when Brazil will face Morocco. Our partners in New York City Tourism and Conventions are hosting another webinar tomorrow, Thursday, May 7th at 11 a.m. to discuss how you can capitalize on this event. This was posted last week to the members' Facebook page, where you can find the registration link. And so take a look there to get involved with that. They do have some really interesting initiatives about reaching out to people. A few of us attended their conference recently, and they had some, I thought, compelling things to look at. Topics for the webinar are going to be submitting World Cup events and offers on NYC Tourism and NYNJ Host Committee events calendars, registering with the NYNJ Host Committee's Welcome World Rewards program, hosting watch parties, surfacing on the AI-powered NYNJ World Cup Concierge, which will connect you to people who might be interested in your content. Understand match day transportation plans. This is a big one for your guests and staff. It's really hard to know what impact this event will have on tour businesses. New York Tourism, NYC Tourism and Conventions, and the local World Cup leadership remain optimistic about the impact. On Monday, Julie Coker, CEO of NYC Tourism and Conventions, was interviewed on New York One and said that they are expecting 10.5 million visitors to come to NYC between June and August, which would be a record for this period, drawn in large part by the World Cup and the America 250 celebrations. But other outlets are telling a different story. According to a report published this week by American Hotel and Lodging Association, which surveyed hotel operators in 11 World Cup host cities, 2/3 of the respondents reported softer than expected bookings that nonetheless track with normal summer demand. More than 60% of New York City operators point to international travel barriers and geopolitical concerns influencing soft bookings. Surprise! We've all seen the reports of the exorbitant ticket prices, as well as controversy about lack of parking and outrageous prices for public transportation to and from the stadium. Bottom line, people will still be coming for the World Cup, but maybe not in the numbers we first heard before. It's very difficult to say if people will be interested in taking tours while they're here. From what Michael remembers, when the Super Bowl was here in 2014, there wasn't much impact on tours. People coming here are likely to be frustrated and confused by various issues plaguing operations. As ambassadors of the city, we should be as open and helpful as possible. If you're trying to capitalize on the World Cup coming to NYC, check out the NYC World Cup Business Toolkit, which has been posted to the members' document section of the GANYC.org. A few more sort of quotidian things. We did move to the new executive offices. That's complete. Thank you, Sarah Lyons, Bob Gelber, myself, and Sherry Davis for helping out. Please note the new address. This is the new mailing address, 106 West 32nd Street, New York, New York, 10001, Suite 139. That's also posted on the website. Use that if you're going to mail anything in to GANYC. If this is, as with our former space, not a drop-in space, we're not there all the time, we use it for scheduled meetings and to store some things. We wanted to also have a little mention about email scams. We continue to see a plethora of scam phishing emails posing as GANYC, the GANYC president or leadership, or portraying themselves as being approved by or representing GANYC. These are all scams. Delete them and report each one to it@GANYC.org. GANYC leadership is not going to share your info with outside organizations without notifying you. Always look at the email address of the sender. Official GANYC emails only come from the @GANYC.org domain or from GANYC@apricot.com. We talked to Emma Gonzalez as chair of the IT committee, who reports that because we want to have our contact information public and available, both leadership and membership profiles, it's relatively easy for scammers and bots to scrape those email addresses and send out official looking but fake emails. We'll continue to explore solutions to this problem, but for now, use common sense when it comes to any emails from GANYC. We've got a quick update on committee leadership, moving into a different area altogether. James Hoffman, when you want to stand up and say hello, is the new chair of the Government. I want to thank Patrick Casey in particular for his many years of diligent and distinguished service to GANYC, leading this committee, and we'll look forward to James's vision for this vital committee and support him in any way possible. James has already jumped in with both feet, as you'll hear with 2 reports later in this meeting. There's 2 more committee announcements to be made, but they will be made by the committee chairs. Committees are the lifeblood of GANYC, and as an old volunteer organization, we rely on our members to serve on these committees. Committee descriptions, contact information are all listed on GANYC.org, and committee meetings are listed on a calendar on our website. If you're interested in joining the committee, please reach out to the appropriate chair, many of whom will be reporting about their committees here tonight. And on a personal note, I can just say that serving on committees and the board has been an incredible experience for me. And so I encourage everybody to jump in where they've got an interest and lend a hand. Do something little or do something just much more impactful. All right, we are going to bring James Hoffman up for his destination Capitol Hill, and then we'll have Bob Gelber up to introduce our speaker. So come on up, James.
Thank you very much. Do you guys hear me? Mm-hmm. Awesome. I actually originally thought it was going to be condensed into one 5-minute report, and I was trying to figure out how to touch everything. Thank you. But now I have the opportunity to speak a little bit more time. Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with Destination Capitol Hill, I think most of you are. It's basically an annual event in Washington, D.C. It's organized by the U.S. Travel Association, and it's where people from the spectrum of travel and tourism industry and from the United States travel to Washington, D.C. We speak to our government representatives, and we advocate on behalf of issues that are relevant to the tourism industry in general, and especially what's going on in the political climate. This year, sometimes I think in the past we've had multiple representatives. This year I was a sole representative. I went up on April 14th to the 15th. 14th was basically some primer meetings and some really awesome talks, and then most of the meetings were on the 15th. The meetings that I attended was with Senator, with her office, with her aides and representatives, the office of Kirsten Gelber, bless you, the office of Chuck Schumer, and then in my district, the office of Representative Dan Goldman. I was there with sort of a chorus of voices. It would take a long time to list all of them. It was a pretty impressive group, but we had Julie Coker, the president and CEO of New York City Tourism and Conventions. We had people from Chase Travel, Niagara USA, Discover Long Island, from all across. So it was a really great chorus of voices. And I think it was very important that we were there. You know, one thing that I really noticed is that a lot of people spoke about how it affected sort of the big picture of tourism, because a lot of them represent cities or destinations. And I think for us, a lot of us are independent contractors with small businesses. And when Patrick reached out for people to send in testimony, the one thing that I heard is there's a lot of independent contractors who specialize in international tourism. And so compared to the bigger picture, these people are affected disproportionately because they specialize in a language, or they work with operators, or they do bike tours or graffiti tours or something like that. So for businesses like this, it's sort of an existential crisis almost. Yeah, so these are the offices that we've visited. The asks in general, there's 4 main ones. One was to protect air travel from future shutdowns. I think as we're all aware, we had one, but we're breaking records for shutdowns here in America. Not that we should crowd it. And we were asking, there's like 3 different bills we were supporting that would allow air traffic controllers and TSA officers to be paid during future shutdowns. So basically, they're not political bonds, right? We were asking to sort of reduce barriers to international travel. One of which a lot of people think has been enforced or has actually been passed into law. It's not, which is that there is proposed changes that would require mandatory social media disclosure and personal data information. I think a lot of people here are aware of it, and we were asking for people to push back against that. One thing that was passed is, of course, the visa integrity fee, which, if you're not aware of, imposes a minimum of $250. That's the minimum. It could be higher on all non-immigrant visa categories, excluding ESTA. So we were advocating for them to reconsider who that would apply to, for how that would be handled, and for the amount that might actually be used. And then the last ask was to promote international tourism by transferring surplus travel promotion funds into Brand USA. They were originally asking for a funding of $100 million per year, and that got cut down due to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to just $20 million. So they were asking for people to approve the release of surplus funds, which originated from ESTA fees, not from general taxation, to make up that difference and to help promote tourism during the time that we have the World Cup and that we have the Olympics coming up and all these other different events. So those are the main asks. Like I said, those are the 3 offices that we visited. Yeah, I think it went swimmingly. It was my first time, so it's definitely a very interesting experience. And I hope next year we can get some more people from GANYC to attend with me and have sort of a larger chorus of voices. The one thing that was kind of interesting is I was told, I forget by who, that we were the only trade association of the tour guides that went there. And actually I met someone from Philadelphia, and they were there from the association of Philadelphia tour guides. So maybe it'll be like a little meetup in the future or something. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Any questions for Trace?
Yeah, great job.
Hey.
Michael Dillinger. I did 2 of these in the past, and we brought other people with us. And one of the values of bringing other people is that you get more representatives that see and understand that guides are a thing in this industry, that we are a profession. And what I would really love to see, and we've never been able to move it further, but I love that Philadelphia was there, if we could get more associations around the country to show up, because we are probably one of the most important voices in the industry, because we see the traveler in a different way than anybody else. We see them at their most vulnerable, when they're stressed out, when they're sensory overload, they're jet lagged, all this kind of stuff. And we know the impact on these things on a real basis for what happens to the travelers when all these crazy things happen in the industry. So a really, really nice job. I would encourage everybody to think about joining this effort, especially for next year, and really get a huge force. When we first started doing it, GANYC was the only thing that showed up from New York.
Oh, really?
I got to visit every congressman in New York because I just information back and said, hey, we're down here.
Sherry, you have a
Thank you very
question?
much.
Sherry, sorry, I know we said that.
Cherie Davis, which of the people that you met was the most receptive and enthusiastic about the things that were brought to the table?
Yeah, so we mainly met the aides and correspondents for offices. And I guess I do feel a little bit like I was preaching to the choir to some degree. They were all pretty receptive. Maybe Schumer's office, maybe? I think they sort of seemed the most enthusiastic about it. And they also were advocating for trying to find other people, other politicians to take up the cause as sort of I think they feel a little bit like if he gets involved too much, that it becomes politicized, right? Because of his status. So they were saying they wanted to help reach out and find people who could reach across the aisle, because we do want bipartisan support for this. It shouldn't be something that's, split up on those political lines. So yeah, that affects issue.
All right. In the back,
Yeah, hi.
last question?
Yeah, Andrew Newman. So did you just meet with the New York delegation, or did you meet with other representatives from Congress, or did you, yeah?
Like, mainly, I mean, the
You said
group that was-
Gelber, Gillibrand. I was wondering if you went
Dan
outside.
Goldman.
Did you go outside the New York
Specifically,
delegation, or was it pretty much?
And no, that's one thing I was thinking about next year, just asking, because I had some extra time afterwards, asking to maybe sit in a few more meetings. I'm not sure how it's gone in previous years with board members. I know there's been reports with more offices, just because there's more attendees. Did you have something to?
Yeah, Harvey Davidson, when I attended these meetings, I live in New Jersey, so I was able to see the New Jersey delegates.
Yeah, I think I saw that in the files there. So I think the more people that bring, the more people that we'll be able to reach out to, and of course, it'd be more in the budget as well. But I think at least having a few people also makes it easier for transitional years, because a lot of great support from Patrick, and the organization's very organized, but it is kind of unusual to go by yourself for the first time and sort of figure everything out. Like, I did a great job.
Well, thank you, James. Great start. I'm going to bring Bob Gelber up now to introduce our speaker and host at this fabulous event.
Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to see so many people here, even though we were getting very nervous as we hit max. But when Anne-Marie Gothard reached out to me several months ago, willing to host the Guides Association, I was absolutely thrilled, because you have no idea how difficult it can be to get invited to places, and we are guests tonight, which helps our budget. So, let me tell you about our host. Anne-Marie Gothard is the president and board chair of Pride Live, where she is focused on amplifying LGBTQ+ voices and creating spaces that honor the community's history while inspiring its future. She is also a co-founder of Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center, the first LGBTQ+ visitor center within the National Park Service, and helped establish Stonewall Day, a global initiative celebrating the resilience and legacy of the LGBTQ+ community. Her leadership extends to national governments as well as Anne-Marie serves as board chair for the Alliance of Nonprofits for Insurance A&I Risk Retention Group, where she chairs Retirement Assets Committee. Drawing on her senior level corporate experience and her dedication to organizational excellence, Anne-Marie continues to help shape the landscape of social advocacy. So please welcome Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that. Let's over real quick here. Technology's my friend. Yeah, take that off. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone.
everyone, and again, welcome to the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center. As Bob said, my name is Anne Marie Gothard, and just honored to be here with you tonight. And for those who were here earlier, I spoke and gave a tour that kind of talks about the layout of the visitor center. What I want to do now is really give you the story on how we got here, right? So, titled From Whisperer to Monument. And I'll go into a little more detail on how we got there and how the idea was really brought to our attention and what we did along the way in order to make it a reality. So again, my welcome again. So we're just honored to share. And Bob's right, I did reach out because one of our team members is a tour guide as well. He splits his time. He works here a couple days each week. And he said, hey, do you know about this group? And I said, no, I'm not familiar with this group. When we were having a brainstorm and how we could reach out and just introduce the visitor center to various people within the industry. So I was very happy when my cold email went out to Bob and he replied, and we had some great conversations along the way. So I'm so happy that we're able to welcome you all in. So the spark of an idea, and I'm using this picture deliberately, because the woman in purple, Valerie Jarrett, she was a member of President Obama's administration. Yes, exactly. She was here at the designation. So Diana, who is also a co-founder and my wife, she worked with the National Park Foundation to help raise money that they needed for the designation. And at this particular event on June 22nd, 2016, President Obama was supposed to have come to be a part of it, but because of the shooting at the Pulse nightclub several weeks in advance, their plans had changed and his travel schedule definitely changed. And so Valerie was asked to come and represent him. So Diana was standing next to her, and as they were going through and doing the designation, she kind of just tapped her on the arm and said, now we need a visitor center, because the designation didn't include funding for an actual structure for park rangers to work out of. So Diana came home and said, hey, Valerie suggested this, idea, and I was like, sure, why not? And neither of us, I think, really thought about what that meant. So we sat on the idea for a little bit, and then once we realized that this is something we, could take on, what would that mean? And how could we get there? So change starts with the whisper, right? It's often quiet, it's that internal moment, it's something that you don't think about and you really question, can you get there? Ours was, there is a need for a space that protects and preserves the Stonewall legacy. It's needed now. Our rights have always been under attack, and what are things that we can do to preserve that history and preserve the nature of what Stonewall represents within the community, but also part of American history. Yes, it's a huge part of, gay history, but in terms of American history, Stonewall has a place in there. So, we went through kind of pros and cons, why we should do it, why we shouldn't do it, and, I think initially first, the cons, I think, were far longer, but then we realized that, it had been 55 years since Stonewall had, at that particular time so this was a 6-year endeavor for us to go through this. So when we first started talking about it, and so the uprising, and nothing had been done. And why couldn't we do it, right? We sort of, let's just take a gamble, what are we gonna need to do it? So this was a little right before, so that was like 2017, I think we started thinking about it. So we sat on the idea for a while, didn't even know if it was possible. And then we found out the space was open. So this is what it looked like when we first walked in. And it was a nail salon, so you can see the pedicure station. Pedicure stations are along the left. You see the plumbing for it. You can see, the ceiling is in shambles. There are doors to nowhere. It was a wreck. But we had a vision, and granted, Diana and I, neither one of us came from an architectural, construction, or engineering background, right? So you have two people who want to, basically, it was a $3.5 million renovation to create this space. Wow. And here we are, going to be working with these contractors, and we speak two totally different languages. but we knew what we wanted. We knew the feeling we wanted to create, we knew the environment we wanted to create, and we knew that, basically take it down to a white box, and we'll bring in the color, we'll bring it into the stories, the exhibits, and, a space that immediately when you walk in, you feel welcomed and inviting. So that was, the directive that kept us motivated throughout the entire time. But we also knew that there's no roadmap, right? We were the first, the National Park, the MPS, when we went to them with the idea, kind of looked at us and like, what? And I didn't quite understand it. The management company who owns the space didn't quite understand either what we wanted to do. And, it wasn't until I think we opened our doors that they finally realized what we wanted to do with this. So really creating a space that, honors history, but also inspires the future. And I was sharing with someone earlier, another driving pro as to why we wanted to do this, is we would stand outside across the bar and watch people, especially families. And you'd see them, parents, trying to explain to their children the significance of what this building and what this green space means. They're too young to go into a bar, so there was no way for them to really learn. So what we're finding, or what we found out, what we were thinking at that time, is that this would be a place for both learning, sharing, community, education, and all of its definitions. And pleased to say that we're living up to that, but that was one of the driving forces. So then we have the commitment, right? And this is right after. So the first photo I showed you was, you got the keys, the place is yours. You walk in, what are you gonna do with it? And so this is us starting with construction, and the building was incredibly neglected. There was nothing that didn't need to be touched. And you can see from the ceiling and the floor, everything had to do it. But it was a starting point for us, right? Once we were able to, figure out what's it gonna take, the budget, we got all the leases, we went through, it's a landmark building, so we had to work with the preservation committee as well. Once we were able to get through all of that, we started to see, but Diane likes to joke that, especially in New York, you get a new apartment and when you're looking at it, and then when you get the keys and you go in, it looks much smaller than what you thought, right? That was exactly what happened here. And so we have 2,100 square feet as on this floor, and then we have a lower level that has about the same, but that's really storage and where our team works and break rooms and things like that is downstairs. But it was a little kernel, we saw this and it was like, are we gonna be able to get to what we need to do? How are we gonna get there? So we recognize again that it's going to take some time. So this is a few more months into it. You can see the complete floor was taken up because it was just not safe. And it used to have this really bizarre curve. We needed to flatten it and straighten it. I mean, there were so many things. And come to find out, there were so many things that our primary architect didn't tell us about because they knew that we could only handle so much at that particular time. They didn't want to do it. But we started to see a dream, right? We started to see the walls shake. We started to get an idea what we could do. We knew that it was definitely going to take some patience. We knew that it was going to take the grit to get there because there were always, obstacles along the way. We were dealing with New York City real estate and then commercial real estate, and I vow I'll never do it again. But we learned a lot along the way, and as Diana likes to say that, she was ready to do time on this project because as I shared earlier, we had a sign on the front window that said, Stonewall National Monument, coming June 28th, 2024. And I pleaded with her, like, let's just put summer 2024. Let's say coming soon. And she said no. She goes, the 28th is the 55th anniversary. We are going to open our doors on time, on budget, on that day. So she definitely lost, I'd say, probably like 5 years of her life. She really handled the construction part of it. And she would tell our contractor, if you're delayed, if you're not going to make it, the community will know that you didn't live up to what you did, so pressure like that also truly helped for people to get to the point and sort of recognize what we needed to do. But definitely it was, from people who, don't deal in construction, but we deal in like development and branding and communication. Those were sort of our specialties. How do you marry the two and how do you create and get to a place where you can speak a common language? And I think what we like to say is as people started working with us more and more, we had a lot of people who became amazing allies They became our advocates, they understood the vision, and, you know, when you get everybody on board, you end up with, you know, your dream coming to life, and they definitely brought our vision to life. But then talking about real change, right? The hardest part here isn't just, you know, the sort of the goals. There were so many things along the way that were challenged, that, you know, we had to face. And as I mentioned, you know, you have, you know, the architects, you have the design, and also the funding, right? So we are, as I mentioned, we're independently owned and operated. That was by design. We wanted to be able to create the programming, create the operations, create the content that we knew, working with a host of historians, we knew would be inclusive and also diverse. But with that, you know, it comes with, you know, securing funding. And people always ask about these shovels, and you're sitting in the room. And I will add, you're sitting in the Booking.com theater, because Booking.com is one of our major underwriters. It made it very possible for us. And if one of the things that, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with their Travel Proud program, but they have been an amazing ally for us and partner in helping to spread the word on what this is all about and why a space such as the visitor center is needed. But these shovels represent, we like to tell people, yes, they represent brands. And you may have, you know, an issue with some of them, but remember that there are people behind each one of these brands. And it's their ERG, their employee resource groups. They're the ones that really championed inside their organizations to get the funding that we needed, not only just to build the place, but in terms of continuing to support us through everything that's going on out there in the world right now, anything that has to do with, you know, diversity. So having to making sure that we have that funnel, that pipeline, is really important to us. But we also create it in a way that our partners, you know, they had a stake in it. You know, what would they like to see represented? What are things of concern for them, and how would they like us to help portray that and demonstrate that, and issues that we just need to think about maybe a little differently than, you know, than we have sort of in our own little silo. So that's one of the reasons why I showed the shovels, is because if we wouldn't be standing here, we wouldn't have been able to do if it, you know, it wasn't for them. We also had a lot of naysayers, which I was shocked. That really, for some reason, you know, shocked me that we were doing it. Naysayers, and I don't know if it was because, I don't know, I don't have an answer for that, and no one ever actually should answer that. But 2 queer women of color decided to take this on, and you know, I think there were some that probably weren't comfortable working with 2 queer women of color. I mean, that's sort of the bottom line. And so with that, you know, we took the challenges, but we stuck to our guns. We knew what we wanted to create, and we knew that, you know, there was a roadmap in which to get there. So I'm pleased to say that when we did open, you know, we had tremendous fanfare, we had a lot of support, and we continue to get a lot of support, which is amazing. And we don't necessarily consider ourselves a museum, but I will say the museum community has truly embraced us, and where we're starting to do more partnerships and speaking at organizations and just sharing our story. And the fact that, you know, Philadelphia just opened their first Philly Pride Center a couple months ago, and Visit Philly is one of our founding partners, which we were always sort of shocked by why they supported us, but we were able to help influence that. So by what we've done, if we're able to open some doors and create different opportunities for gay travelers, you know, we're all for it. You know, we want, and it's not just gay travelers too. You know, we have, you know, a variety of individuals who come through our doors, which, you know, we're really, really pleased about. And then the other big piece too is finding a talent that understands the mission. You know, you have to be a mission-driven individual to be able to work here. And one of the things that I had a conversation with a colleague, he runs a museum out in Austin, Texas, and does a program called Badge of Pride. And it's pretty much badge and icons of things that represent pride that he's collected over the years. And one of the things he said, that when he was at his last exhibit was on display, the museum staff wasn't prepared for the emotional response. And that's something that both Diana and I think our team, we were equally sort of surprised. So when you walk around and you see tissues at certain areas, they're there by design. We have people who come in from all over the world, and some live in areas that say, I'm the only gay person, I can't come out to my community. We've had a woman here, she's very, she was probably in her late 40s, and she wrote in the journal notebooks that we have out there that she was a lesbian, and she said, this is the first time I've ever said that outside of my own, four walls. We have parents who come through who may have a trans child, a gay child, and they'll say, I don't know this, I want to be a better parent. I came here to learn. So it's those types of experiences. And then we also have, the tour groups that come in, which is great. And they're normally a lively bunch that come in. And
That's such a nice way to say it.
On this end, they look like a lively bunch. I know you're probably, those corralling cats or something, or herding ants, whatever they say, the phrase is. But they come in and they just want to take it all in. And, I was explaining to someone earlier that, if we look at our visitors, I sort of classify them in three main camps, right? So one is someone like, this is Mecca, they plan their whole trip around here, they couldn't wait to walk in, they spend 1 to 2 hours here. They watch the videos, they read everything, they participate, and then they talk with the staff and they share their stories. Then we have the visitor who is a national park fan. And if you're familiar with the National Park Passport, where you get the stamps, as soon as they walk in the door, we can tell. There are beelines at the front desk. Picking my stamp. And then they kind of turn around and they look and they realize, oh, well, let me take it in. So they will stay for a little bit, which is great. And then the third category is, I need a restroom. And they right to the bathroom. And then they come out, and then they realize where they are. And some will stay, and some even shop. And then there are those that just come in, use the restroom, and say thank you, and they walk out. And that's what a visitor center is all about, right? We joke that we're the gay cousin to Yellowstone. Go to a national park, right? What is the visitor center for, right? There's a little bit of information, you get oriented, you have a restroom, and then you buy stuff. So we feel we're just in an urban setting, you come up from a subway, and we're right here. So that's a little different there. But all that to say that the challenges were real, and the stories that we're having and meeting. But then, you turn it in, those obstacles into a milestone. And it wasn't just by, brute force, it definitely was resilience. I think this tested every ounce of our resilience. Quick example, if you go outside, please look at the gas lantern light fixtures on the exterior, because it took me 6 tries through the Landmark Preservation Committee, because the first 5 weren't authentic enough to the time period. Little things like that you would never even think of. And, we selected things that weren't modern. We thought it looked authentic to the time period, but they didn't think it did. So we kept going back until we got things. So sort of being resilient. Absorbing the blows and pivoting, because, anytime you deal with construction, there's also a residential unit above us. So we have a bar on that side, which is one thing, and above us is, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful apartment with an outdoor space above us. So we took extra measures to really customize the ceiling for sound. But again, if you're living next to a bar, there's only so much you can do. But we wanted to be a good neighbor. We wanted to be a good partner. So we did some extra things to really soundproof the area. Funding, one door closes, you just go on to the next. I can't tell you, the number of people, and I will say, because Google was our first partner, and, talk about having vision. I think Diana barely got through the original concept, and they're like, we've got you. They understood immediately what we wanted to do. And so and their internal team was phenomenal in championing it inside their organization as well. So it's interesting, once people kind of realize and they experience it and experience the space, as I was sharing with someone else this evening, my mother keeps saying to me, you don't realize what you've done. And I don't. We come in, we love it, we work it, we see it, we talk with people, but the impact doesn't always hit me until I'm out with people or families come in and you just see the response that they have to the space. So it's one of those things that It's just, you know, I'm just still in shock that we did it, and it's probably the reality of it. But this is just the billboard. You know, this is something that Google did before we opened, right out here up on the corner of 7th and I guess West 4th. You know, be history, see history. See history, be history. And that's exactly what we want. We want people to see themselves when they walk through the door. We want them to repeat the stories. We want them to share their stories. We want them to have conversation with one another when they walk in. And that's what's happening. All of that is happening. So long way of saying that, you know, when you go from a spark to an idea, it can happen. This was the very first photo we took right before we opened to the public. Wow. And it's just so pristine. That's the only way I can describe it. You know, we wanted a place that was infused with color. We wanted a space that was open and inviting. We really just wanted to show that, you know, how various partnerships can amplify, because the main wall, the Stories of Stonewall, we worked with several Stonewall pioneers, historians, and it's first person. You know, having the content right was, you know, goal number one, right? You know, we wanted to have those stories, but we also wanted to present it in a way that it was digestible, so that people could take away at least one thing from each panel. And as I shared earlier when we went through the tour, that you know, they're by chapters, and sort of that was by design. So we tried to be incredibly intentional about everything that we put in here, and how we're designing it, so that you know, people walk out with a new understanding, or they walk away with at least something new about it, new about Stonewall. And that's what I love about the school groups that come in. So we have a tour that we do specifically, just, you know, education and interaction to see what they know. And you know, I asked one 8th grader, because she had just written a paper about Stonewall. And so I asked, you know, did you learn something new today? And she said, no. I said, okay, well, did you enjoy the tour? She said she loved the tour. Like, it definitely reinforced everything that she learned. But, you know, she felt that her paper, you know, gave her all the information. So I just took that and said the fact that, you know, as an 8th grader, we're talking about this, and she's now experienced it a little differently, that's a win, right? That's definitely a win. So what's the impact that we're having? This is a picture of the 100,000th visitor that we track. We track every person who walked through the door, and I'm going to guess by raising a hand for most of you, this is your first time here. Yep. All right, you're all in today's daily report. So if click, we will all be counted in that daily report. But we've had people from all 50 states, including District of Columbia, Puerto Rico. We're at 93 countries now, which is phenomenal. You know, places from, you know, Seychelles Islands to, you know, the Middle East, all of Europe. You know, you name it, we probably have had someone. And so that's been fascinating to see the stories. And, you know, we have something, there's a photo up there, and it's in Polish. And some people here were Poland, and they read it, and it was like, they had passed some legislation, and that was a picture from one of their advocacy groups. And the gentleman just started to tear. You know, the fact that we had it, that they're part of this, you know, it just meant so much to him. So that we've had 93 countries is amazing. And then the other piece that we're excited about, so for those that were here, we have an exhibit up there where there are journals, and you do journal entries. And we've already captured more than 15,000 journal entries. So we're going to be archiving those and in a way that we can search through, digitally search, so that we can find and use that and kind of turn that into an exhibit and use that content in some way. But just the fact that people are willing to share their stories. There's 20 different journals, each one has a different question, so it's just fascinating to watch. So we know that we're having an impact. And what's your role in all that? So yes, I did invite you here, but there's definitely good intention. So one, you know, swing by anytime, right? So it's free admission. There's no booking that's needed. We're closed on Mondays. We're open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We encourage you to walk in. We see, and I think one of the reasons why we went down this route is that, you know, we see a lot of tour groups that stand across the street on the sidewalk, and we've gone out and be like, hey, come on in. in, you know, and they're like, oh, but I thought I needed a reservation. I'm like, no, please, come on in. So we have slowly have built up some relationship with some of the local tour guides just by, you know, inviting them in. So I share that with you. You know, spread the love online. You know, if you have your platforms, if there's anything, if it's appropriate, time of year, doing something special for Pride, we'd love to partner with you and help share you with our network, and you share us with your network. We're all about community in that regard. Be a part of the magic. Now that I'm connected with Bob, we host a lot of events here and things, so if there's anything that you might be interested in, from film screening to panel discussions, would love to just, you know, add you to our invite list and keep you up to date on things that we're doing and invite you to come back in that regard. And then also make it a hub for learning, right? So if there's an opportunity, we do a fair number of panels here, lectures, as well as film screenings and other things. But if you're, you know, looking for a space, we'd love to just talk to you about that and how we can help and, you know, turn this area, we can convert it a little differently and do that sort of thing. But, you know, from training opportunities, we've done that for some other organizations as well. It's just a nice central place for that. And then last, you know, take a break in style. So we've been told we have lovely bathrooms. I don't know if you can our bathrooms here, but as I said, as a visitor's guest, we pride ourselves on having a very clean bathroom. 2 stalls that are back there. We also have a water refiller for water bottles. So well, and Diane and I should say, Diane and I travel to a lot of national parks, and we just love that experience. So we took, you know, that experience as travelers. What are things that we want when we go into visitor centers as well? So that water refresh station is a big thing as well. So, you know, with that, I just want to say thank you with pride, with purpose, and service of community. And thank you all for coming in. And I'm so pleased that I had a chance to kind of share our story with you. Thank you.
In the back there.
Yes, this is Bill Goodhart, and I have a question. Has there been any resolution with the pride flag in the memorial?
Yes, so there was a resolution with the flag, and the groups, those that brought the suit against the government, they came to an agreement that there's now a new there's a flagpole that's there, and it's kind of like a T. So you have the American flag at the top, you have the pride flag on one side, and the national park flag on the other side. And the agreement is that it will remain unless it gets damaged, or it needs to be cleaned, or, you know, something happens to, you know, the pole or something. But they did reach an agreement that the flag and the flag was restored.
Good.
I guess Gonzalez. I had a question about the partners and about the funding. Do you have an endowment, a foundation? Do you take donations? How, or are these donors that are on the shovels, that they're continuing to provide you all with funding? And since you are free to visit.
Yeah, pretty much all the above. So we definitely take donations either on site or through online. We have, you know, 2 mechanisms for that. Through our sale of our merchandise. We're just in the process of revamping our online shop. So that's something that we'll be announcing in a couple of years, or in a couple weeks on that front. We also then, we do tours that with larger groups, where we do, it's a pay-as-you-go or pay-as-you-can kind of program. So we have a relationship also with the Department of Education. So that's why we've gotten so many schools that have come through. Good old-fashioned fundraising, individual donors, corporate. Most of the people, I'd say actually all the shovels that are here, are the people that are the companies represented, have renewed. So some of them are multi-year, multi-tools, and then also through foundations. We've had some good support from foundations.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Safalo. Thank you for a very thorough intro to the monument. Are you doing anything special for June 28th, your anniversary?
Well, we're going to, on June 24th, which is the 10-year anniversary, we're actually going to do something a little more, quiet, I guess, with our founding partners. Because we feel that it's the 10th anniversary of the designation, and we haven't brought all our founding partners together since our opening. So we are going to do a special kind of celebration for them. And then on June 28th, which one of the things we started was a program called Stonewall Day, which used to be a big concert that would take over the street, and then we moved up to Hudson Yards. We're not going to do that, but we are going to do something from here that's going to be live streamed. So we're working on those details now in celebration for that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Amy Cook. I have a question about your partnership with the National Park Service and kind of how that works. I know you have the stamps and
Yeah,
and all of
so
that.
it's pretty straightforward. So the relationship with the park is primarily just naming only, so that we have the right to call ourselves a Stonewall National Monument. Through that agreement, we've agreed that we will provide a home base for the park rangers because they don't have a facility. So normally during the day, there's a park ranger that's sitting side by side with our team. They administer the junior ranger program, so when people, well, kids and adults come through wanting to do it, they have the little booklet, they administer that. They do tours, both inside and outside as well. The passport, definitely, they're the keeper of the stamps. And so if you don't have a passport, we created a little card for those who don't have it so that you can still go through the process of collecting a stamp. Or if you forget your passport and you want to take it, and, you can do that. But we're an official location. And that was the other thing. There was no official location for people to collect that stamp. So we were filling that role as well.
Stand on two-parter. What do these empty alcoves represent? And do you have those oval decals for cars?
We do not have the oval decals for some, we don't, as I said, our partnership is for naming. We haven't moved into that merchandise agreement. That's a whole different animal with national parks. But we don't have those, but we do have, they do have a piece of paper that if you just want to stamp it and people tape it in as well. And the empty box represent growth. So that's by design. So we do have people who, inquire, and we have conversations with on what that would mean. So if anyone's interested, happy to talk to you offline, or if you know someone that may be interested. But that's what it represents, those two boxes. Or 4 boxes, I should say, 2 inside.
Okay, we've got a question back there in the middle. Oh, hi.
Hey, thanks. Ellen Simon, I just was wondering about the rangers themselves, because many of us have been to lots of different national monuments, and I'm just wondering, are they the same people, or is it, how do they integrate into your space?
There's 2 rangers that are assigned to the Stonewall National Monument. So they alternate days. But we treat them, we have meetings with them. We have a weekly check-in with the National Parks leadership for this region, for the Manhattan region. We just see each other as sort of teammates, and so it's been a great working relationship. When we see opportunities or ideas, and we brainstorm what are some things that we can do, because they're interested too on the number of visitors that come through and how many interactions they have as well. So we're all about data. So we try to collect as much as we can, and they had an artist in residency program at one point where a woman was coming in and she was drawing. So we try and find unique ways in which to strengthen that partnership.
Okay, there's another 1 or 2 questions in.
Yes, well, I'm a neighbor, and I just want
Say
to
your
know,
name.
Susan Solar Nascimento, and I want to know if you have security, because this neighborhood has crazies. And people who are not, let's say, they don't really understand, and they're not for it. So I want to know if you have security, or have you had any problems?
What I can share is that we have a security firm that we normally, Thursday through Sunday, we have security on site. We work with the security firm in the design of the space, and we have implemented things that in the event of any situation, we can protect the visitors as well as our team. So if there's anything that keeps us up at night, it's probably, the thought of a threat or somebody, whether if it's, physical, but also online. Our website is always under attack. We've got an amazing web team and IT firm that we work with that's always trying to, thwart the folks that are, trying to do malicious things. But no, security is #1 top of mind.
All right, one last question on
Hi,
that?
this is Bill Gothard again. Just one last question regarding that. I have noticed that you have the National Park Police sometimes stationed outside. Do they help?
Well, yeah, well, they definitely patrol that outside area, but we have a great relationship with the MPS police, as well as, you know, the 6th precinct up the street, the community liaison, so we're connected in all the right places.
Okay.
During, you know, high season, I guess, tourism, during a lot of activity, you know, the park police, the park actually brings on additional security just, you know, because of, you know, people trying to steal the flags that they place around and,
Yeah.
you know, other sort of malicious things. So, but they notify us as well, we notify them, you know, so we've got a very open lines of communication to make sure the safety of everybody.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay. Down, we'll turn that off.
Okay. I mean, we could do puppet shows or something. All right, phenomenal. Thank you so much again. We are now, hello. We are going to move on to committee reports. Our first one is going to be our very own clock keeper, Gary Dennis, from New York City 400, America 250.
So I have my notes in here somewhere, I just can't find them, I don't want to waste time, but we had a very incredibly productive meeting on the 28th, so those of you who were there, thank you. This event seems to have drawn more of you out of the woodwork than I thought would happen. We have right now 26 tours that will be listed. And of course Bob Gelber. So Bob Gelber's doing the tour. So and Jason Stein's here. Thank you, Jason. Anybody who I'm not going to run through the names of people that donated. Just happy to see you're sitting over there. But thank you all for donating your time. This is going to be an incredible event, and as Rose said, the MTA is having a staycation event at Grand Central Terminal on the 13th, and the goal is to have everything on our wild apricot thing, so people can start registering for the tours. This is not any kind of thing, it was coincidental, but it's going to be the 27th and 28th, so I hope that doesn't conflict with anybody, but that is when we're doing it, because we wanted to get in as close to the 4th as possible, and not on the 4th. All right, so we don't want to compete with you know, Macy's and all that. So we're keeping it like that. But there will be a list on the GANYC website of the tours that are going to be offered, who's offering them. And if you did give me a tour, you'll get a list of the people that will be on your tour. And there's some sounds like some great tours that are going to be happening. So thank you all very much, and and there you go. So I will take questions at this juncture. Go ahead. Yes.
And so how does,
Say your name.
Oh, Anina?
Anina, there you
Hi.
go.
So how does the public find out about these tours?
That's a great question.
And how do they register?
Well, there's a public access to the wild apricot like we did last time for NYC 400. And there's going to be a QR code at that table that people can scan and then see the list of tours.
At the MTA table.
At the MTA table.
Okay.
Which I understand we have like half a table, Bob, is that?
Yeah.
Which is really about like this or something?
Can
Yeah, it's like that.
the date?
The date, the MTA thing?
Yeah.
Okay, the MTA is on Wednesday, the 13th. Is that Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right?
Wednesday.
Yeah, this Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's at Grand Central in Vanderbilt Hall. And it's all about, you know, don't go anywhere, stay here.
What time?
I'm not sure about the hours of this.
11 to 3.
11 to 3, there you go. All right, so 11 to 3. But to go back to, I hope I answered your question and you understand what I'm saying, that once the public gets the QR code, they go onto our, not into the site per se, but they'll see
The
the tour.
registration.
Right, like what they can register for, and There's a lot of repetition, yes. I mean, there's some tours that are very similar, but I have a feeling they're gonna fill up. It's a lot of Revolutionary War stuff.
Is there a link from that QR code that I can put on my social media for people? Because otherwise, is that the only way people find out if they go to see
For
it?
now, okay, so this is the part I left out. I am gonna be trying to get in contact with somebody, because they changed this past election cycle. I no longer have a connection at Manhattan Borough President's office, but I still have a connection at Gail Brewer's office. A lot of people on the last round that we did back in, last year for NYC 400 came through Gail Brewer's office. So that was that was huge. I think we have a question in the back. Say what's your name?
Jeremy Wilcox. So actually, Nina, because these tours will be public on the Wild Apricot calendar, in theory, anyone could go to GANYC.org/calendar and see them.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, that is the way to access them.
Okay.
All right, so we have another question in the middle there.
Hi.
Say your name.
Ellen Simon again. So my question is, last time, you sent out links to everybody in GANYC. I forwarded links to a lot of my friends and many people signed up. Are you going to be doing that as well?
Probably. I mean, as we get closer to the event, see what happens
So
after.
you're saying
after
it's
the 13th.
June 28th, but
June
the
27th,
sign,
28th.
June 27th, but the sign up is May 13th?
No, the sign up is, no, that's the staycation event at the MTA.
When it's gonna be
So we're
like
gonna see how many people come from that, because what if it fills up? What if there's like, there's only so much space. I mean, there's some people, I'm not gonna name names, but some people are like offering me tours that are like, I'll take 50 people on tour, and I don't wanna write back, are you insane? What's wrong? But, that's way too many. So I would write them back saying, I think you should reduce the number to like 12 or 15, just keep it so we're not intrusive. I mean, we don't want to be walking around with our amplifiers making ourselves look like jerks, right? But at the same time, we need to be heard, and if the group is too big, they're not gonna be heard, so.
But can you not hook up with like Open House New York or something?
I don't know, I could see what happens.
So
with
these
it.
would be
Yeah.
great questions to ask and answer at a committee meeting.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not gonna have one, the next committee meeting will not be, because I had 2 in April, so I feel like I'm owed like 1 off for May, so, but I might put one together for May, but the reason why I'm more excited about this MTA staycation thing, because it's gonna get an audience of people that have never heard of us, and see, this has always been my point with this, is to get the GANYC name out there. So I asked everybody, how did you hear about it? And then, Gail Brewer's office, and have you ever heard of GANYC? No, I haven't. Now you have. And I had a little speech at the beginning of every tour of who we were, how we started, what we do, how she doesn't adjust the mic for me, things like that. Everybody else does the mic adjustment, I don't. All right, so, but that's, it was just to get the name out. I've been saying this for 3 years, since I got on the board, that just building legitimacy, building our name. I mean, yes, we have a great clue with these two right here, the brand rebranding thing, right? Which does not involve a hot poker, just so you know. We gotta talk her out of it, but the point is.
So would it be safe to say that if people have an idea for how to get this information out, they should email you and offer?
I have no problem with people emailing me, so it's NYC400@GANYC.org. Send me an email if you have a connection with a council member other than Gail Brewer, because I got that sewn up, all right, and who else? And any borough president. It's amazing how unresponsive the city can be. I'm shocked too. Wait, hold on.
Sorry, last question, Anina. So I missed our last meeting, I'm sorry, but are we marketing these towards New Yorkers or towards tourists, towards visitors?
No, to New Yorkers.
To New Yorkers.
I mean,
Okay.
it's gonna be hard to do it to tourists.
Okay.
That's why I'm pushing towards New Yorkers.
Okay.
And I think Stanley had a question, did you raise your hand?
I was trying to see who, however, I'd like to say something. I'm in several Facebook groups that have like 150 to 250,000 members. They're all tourists who are coming here. I own one, and everybody who's doing a tour is welcome to advertise on it. I'd like to
We'll get you a link.
list of
We'll get you a link. Okay.
That's a good group, I'm on that group.
All right,
Thank
and
you,
also
Gary.
Stanley, thank you for the tour.
All I just want to say something about the space that we're in. I spent a lot of my life in this neighborhood. My father was actually born down the street, and when I was a teenager, when I was 15 years old, I discovered Greenwich Village. You know, I lived in Brooklyn, I figured out how to get here, and it changed my life. I love being in this neighborhood. And I had a friend, who lived on West Street, and he let me stay in his apartment when I was 17 for the summer when he was away. And it was above the Ramrod. Which is a bar that no longer exists. However, if you see the movie Cruising, it's featured there. But getting home on a Saturday night to the apartment there was interesting. Back in 1977, Christopher Street was alive. But my most popular tour is the Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan tour, and we come by here all the time, and I always tell my guests, and if you need to go to the ladies' room, you can go to the Stonewall. As well as, just one other story about that. I had some people from Cologne, Germany, and I said, and this is Christopher Street, as we crossed the street, and we go, oh, Christopher Street, we have a festival in Cologne, Germany every year called the Christopher Street Festival. 100,000 people come to this festival in Cologne, Germany. So that's the impact that Christopher Street has worldwide. Anyways, okay, back to business. About the membership committee. Welcome Ian Goza. Where are you, Ian? Ian, here, new member. Ian's actually friends with one of my good friend's sons. They both work at the South Street Seaport Museum. So welcome, Ian. Now, if you are a new member here at GANYC within the last 6 months, raise your hand or stand up. Okay, stand up. So we're going to have a social event after this. Make sure everybody here who's not a newbie, make sure you chat with what was your name again? Emilian Perez. And what was your name? Benjamin Hemrick, right? So welcome, you guys. Just want to let you know you're part of the team now, and we will help you in many ways. Okay, so about the membership committee, I gotta get my phone. Okay. So we interviewed, we have 6 new members this month that joined. Ian is one of these new members. Welcome, Ian. And we have, we interviewed 10 people last month to become prospective members. And we are going to be having a networking event on the 13th of May at Clinton, what's it called, Clinton Hall?
Clinton Hill.
Clinton Hall on Washington and Rector downtown. And I'm very happy that the membership committee, the fellows on the membership committee, chose the food. They chose the food because the menu is making me crazy. So they chose the food. We're going to have a nice selection. And the mentorship event is continuing. Suzanne, do you want to say anything about the mentorship program and what's going on with that? Sure. Suzanne is taking over from Ro. Thank you, Ro, for your service. Let's give Ro a round of applause. If you want to tell us what's going on with the mentorship committee.
Oh, okay. So we had 8 people apply to get a mentor, and we had 6 people apply to be mentors. So unfortunately, we weren't able to match everyone, but one of the things I really emphasized for the people who didn't match was come to our events. You'll meet people, you'll informally get mentors, come to our Facebook page, come to our new member things. Come to things, because people, even if you don't have an assigned mentor, people will be happy to answer your questions, help you. So some of our new mentors and mentees are here. Raise your hand. I saw Jared and a lot of people are here. Actually, my mentee is here. Hello. But yeah, so it's exciting. The other thing I just want to say really fast is we're going to be in August, we said, doing office hours. So I'll be sending more information about that, but what that will be is a guy who has an expertise or skill that they're willing to answer questions and share information. You'll just sign up through Wild Apricot. You'll pick a day, you'll pick some kind of location. I don't care if it's a park, a coffee shop, whatever. You'll be there, let's say tomorrow from 2 to 4 to talk about social media. And then people will sign up on Wild Apricot and come and meet with you, and you can they can ask you questions. It's super informal, literally just about a specific topic to help people get more information that they need. So keep your eyes open. I'll be saying who wants to sign up. You know, we'll reach out from the membership committee, and we'll start putting people in Wild Apricot. So I think it's going to be really great. I think there's a lot of excitement around that. I know I'm excited. So.
One of the things the membership committee does is we try to organize networking events and have parties or gatherings after our meeting. And tonight, our meeting is going to be at a place called Judy Z's, which is straight down 7th Avenue to Carmine Street. It's sort of a sports bar-ish kind of place, and they're really excited to host us. So come on down. That's it.
I think the mic's dead.
I think the mic may.
Oh, no, it's back.
All right. Thank you so much, Anne. Next up, Nina.
Okay, so education, we always have this very long report, and but we've been around a long time, and just as long, almost as long as GANYC, 52 years, right? So we're celebrating 250. Of course, a lot of our members are joining on in the festivities, and coming up, I'm going to do the most. Want to thank also Lisa Puccio and Bob Gelber for arranging the guest, Bob for suggesting the guest speaker, Lisa for arranging it. And if you have a suggestion for a guest speaker, that's kind of a slot that fills up really quick, and Lisa's very efficient and does a lot of the legwork on that. But you can always develop a guest speaker into a FAM tour, into a professional development program. There are different ways of getting people involved. So if you're very excited about someone, they might not have to wait a year to speak for, in front of us. We'll figure out a way. Okay, so coming up, the events are coming up in May 4th, thoroughly. We talk about the events that happened in May. So Thoroughly Modern Midtown Modified just happened, Jeremy Wilcox and Robin Garr. And it was kind of a tribute to the late Lee Gelber, who had done that tour, and they took it to another level. It was really great. Coming up May 12th, Hard Island Part 2, City Island in the Bronx, Park Rangers arranged by Jeremy Wilcox. May 13th, Uptown Fashion, How New York Dresses the World, Mary Haitkin. May 14th, Ford Independence in the Battle for the Bronx with John Semlak. May 27th, FAM, Rock and Roll History in the East Village, another maven, Tom Kincaid. May 29th, FAM, The Real Little Italy, Arthur Avenue in the Bronx with Joseph Pizzingrillo. And June 2nd, Night Photography, Lower Manhattan Tour with Stanley O'Connor. June 20th, Fabulous Fountains of Midtown Manhattan with Stephanie Azzaroni. And she actually spoke in front of our meeting. And I didn't know if she was going to have room to speak. So I said, oh, Stephanie, why don't you just do a fan tour and publicize your book that way? And now she's doing that, so that's great. And of course, one of our tried and true, Joe Spalak, is going to be doing a tour for the 250, and he's going to try it out on our GANYC members, and it's the FAM tour after the Great Fire of 1776, townhouses, tenements, and towers. So Joe is, a very seasoned guide, so it's very exciting. Now, if you missed this meeting, or you know a friend who did and wanted to hear what was going on, we usually, unless there's something that happens that the speaker doesn't want to be taped, and that's happened sometimes, we live stream this. So if you came in late and you want to hear the whole meeting, that's one of the benefits of being a GANYC member. You can access all of our professional development, webinars, meetings, guest speakers. We really go back a ways from any location you're at. Also, we have a FAM tour cancellation policy, you probably all know by now. It's 48 hours from the start of the tour. So if a tour is 9 a.m. on Saturday, it's, you have to cancel by 9 a.m. on Thursday, right? I think that's it. Yeah, otherwise, it has to go through education if you have really an illness or your dog had to go to the vet or something. We're very compassionate. But if you do it a lot, we're gonna call you out on it. If you do it 3 times in a row and you just don't show, that it hurts our feelings. And it really does, because we have people who are doing this, the expert, talented people, put their heart and soul into bringing these events. And, so we have like a little punishment, like 3 times in a row you're out, like 3 strikes, you're out for a couple of months or 6 months, whatever. So anyway, I just want to say there are a lot of past FAMs that I put in the meeting notes because we keep an index of past FAMs and guest speakers because that's a great resource for you because we have experts in every part of the city. And it's really great since I've been a GANYC member, it's funny how provincial we are. We stick to our neighborhoods where we work, where we live, we don't get out. And since being a GANYC member, I've been to all 5 boroughs everywhere, And I'm just pleased to say, in just the past, okay. Okay, thank you so much.
May I point out that my FAM tour is at night, no sunburn, no heat.
Next up is James Hoffman with a little bit more on the Government Relations Committee. I know everyone's excited to see each other, but let's just keep the chatter down if we can. Thank you.
Hi again. So just in terms of government relations in general, I can skip this. I just want to thank Patrick Casey again. I know he said at the beginning. He's my predecessor, and I don't think he's here tonight, is he? No, okay. But I just want to thank him for his dedication, his service, and for all the time and effort he's put into this role. I hope he tackled the same dedication. We're the Destination Capitol Hill, looking at part of this, so we can skip that. And yeah, so just in terms of immediate plans for government relations, the goals for this month are pretty simple. I am relatively new to the role. I just sort of want to get the nuts and bolts. Oh, there's a timer never is. We're going to put the nuts and bolts together and just sort of pull some things, just kind of figure out how everything's going to work. I think the first thing is pretty simple, is to set up a general schedule for meetings. I don't think they're on a set schedule, and my plan is to hopefully have them on a monthly basis. I haven't set up a date yet. I've reached out to former people who have attended meetings to ask if they were still interested. I got a really great response. I think like 10 people responded. But if anyone else is interested in attending, just reach out to governmentrelations@GANYC.org. I think like many of the other meetings, we're going to be virtual, right? We're going to use a Zoom or a Google Meet account. And I don't have a set date and time. But if people reach out, I'll probably do a survey for what works best. And right now I'm thinking like Wednesday or Tuesday once a month. In addition to that, I just sort of want to create like a written mission statement along with sort of a list of core policy areas for government relations. I think some of that's maybe like obvious, right? Like people care about licensing and regulations and in terms of public space and Brooklyn Bridge and things like that. But to kind of spell it out, figure out what matters to GANYC and GANYC members. And then after we do that, to figure out what relationships we have already, create sort of a simple stakeholder map, and figure out what relationships we want to build and what issues we want to tackle as well. So that's kind of the basic overview of the next month. One thing we've sort of already kept our eye on, I'm just trying to keep eyes on what's going through City Council, is there is a bill that was introduced, 0847, if anybody wants to look it up, and it's basically a bill that would require the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to establish an outreach and education program, basically for awareness of scams targeting and impacting tourists. And so that was, and when I say a schedule, part of this is a weekly schedule for myself, and part of this weekly schedule is just looking at city council. This is something that was just on their calendar. But in association with a few other organizations, it's basically creating educational materials to hand out, to identify scams, and to instruct tourists how to have a complaint, a consumer complaint as well. In particular, it seems to be targeted for the World Cup this year, but if you read the text of the law, it's actually set to be renewed every year as well. So it's going to be a continuous thing. And so I reached out to the board. I think one of the things that maybe one of our first sort of missions is to reach out and try and see if information about tour guides could be added to that as well, because a lot of people don't realize that we have to be licensed, or that there are any sort of regulations, and to sort of instruct people how to make sure that their tour guides are licensed. So that's kind of the first thing I think we're going to look at. There are a few other things, but maybe I'll say that for next committee report. But yeah, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
No, I'm very interested in. I'm very interested in the material. Maybe we could also use it for our own website to inform the tourists that are coming. Or
Yeah, I think
there's some advice.
Yeah, I've only done minimal outreach because I wanted to talk to the board first. I did outreach to one council member, the lead sponsor, and that was one of the things I think I recommended, that maybe tour guides could have a way to spread this information as well. So I think we're all very sympathetic, and I think we know when these, when scams happen to tourists, it reflects the industry in a whole. Even though that's not fair, it's sort of the view that people take. So yeah, I think it's definitely something we want to look at. You have a question, Michael? Sorry, I guess the name?
Bill Gothard again. Anyway, the question is, I've seen many groups all over the city being lectured by somebody who's not hanging a license around his neck. Now, I don't think it's any one of us, but I was wondering if GANYC as a group, or somehow the National Tour Guide Association, should broadcast that New York City requires people to be guided by guides licensed in New York.
Sorry, what was the question again, the last part?
The question is, why can't GANYC or the National Federation of Tour Guides distribute to all tour organizations and travel groups, travel organizations, that guides who are licensed in New York should be the only ones giving tours?
Just as an organization in general, yeah, I don't think there's any reason why GANYC couldn't. I think a lot of members of GANYC have spoken out about this, but I would say our goal is more specifically to get some sort of government enforcement.
That's what I meant.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought you meant GANYC. Why couldn't GANYC?
Well, somebody to talk to them.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Like you.
And I'm sorry, do you have a response to that?
Well, I don't think the NFTGA would join up with that with us, but they would not. They would support us, but they would not participate. Only because we're like, I think we're it with the licenses. I don't know who else requires licenses.
New Orleans has
DC, right?
licenses.
So DC and us.
I think Charleston got it.
Charleston. All right.
Yeah, instructor.
But all four of them down there in Charleston, plus the rest of us out here. No, but you're absolutely right. You're right, Bill. You're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I would, as a board member, I hope that you I can't speak for the rest of these monks, but.
What was yours?
What about,
Say your name?
Ellen, what about hotels? Like basically bringing that information to hotels so that the concierge knows to tell their guests that they should be using, not necessarily GANYC, I mean, that would be great, but we're only 400 of 1,500 or something, but only use licensed guides.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I think part of the thing about this bill is it seems like a lot of thought's been put into it already, and I guess one of my goals isn't just to sort of take the lead in issues, which I plan to do, especially with like licensing and stuff like that, but to find causes that we can support. And looking at the bill's language, it seems like there's a few organizations already involved. It doesn't list them by name, but I think it's a few travel organizations, and when it says distribute materials, I think it means the hotels as well. So we're gonna try and reach out and get more information, but I think that's part of the plan.
Hi, Christina Hansen, and just to address that question, and then obviously I sent you an email, I want to be participating in the government relations thing, but the relationship between GANYC and the Department of Consumer Worker Protection, like that's the important thing, because we want to be a part of that conversation. Should this bill get passed, not only supporting the legislation, but who's writing the material, but how do you recognize the scam? Because very often we're the ones who hear about scams,
Yeah.
try to encourage our guests to say, like, you need to report that to 311, you know, because we can't do it on your behalf, and we've probably all heard of a zillion different kinds of scams, but also then that material that gets publicized, because, yes, GANYC should be going to hotels and saying, you know, or to other organizations and saying you should be a licensed guide, et cetera, but it has more weight if it's coming from DCWP. And I know, I don't know the answer to this, but I know there's been discussion that we have had a conversation with DCWP in the past about when people take their license exam, having some sort of way for DCWP to try to let people know there is GANYC, but we've not been real successful. And hopefully that's something that we can do.
I agree with
With,
that as well. I
with,
think actually, if you look at the tour guide exam materials, I mean, they recommend books that are out on the front for a while.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think at the bottom, it's like, oh, by the way, there's GANYC.
Yeah.
And since the materials are out of date, maybe we can bump that up as well.
We can take 2 more questions. Ann in the back?
Just one issue just to maybe put on the agenda in whatever conversations you're having is the situation with the Statue of Liberty people who attack the tourists as they come off the R train at Whitehall Street. Say, hey, are you going to the statue? I mean, I just think it's out of control. It's really out of control.
It doesn't actually list my name, so I would be pretty shocked if that's not a big part of it, but.
Just whatever, just put that on the agenda.
Yeah, for sure, I think so, for sure.
Okay, we can take 1 more question.
Okay, sure.
Hi, Catherine. So one of the big initiatives was to stop all the vendors on Brooklyn Bridge, and GANYC government relations was successful, but they're back.
Sure.
So what is government relations going to do in terms of getting back in touch with our, city officials and the police to enforce it?
Well, I think that kind of goes back to what I said about making sort of a stakeholder map of our spreadsheet, which is that we're going to identify issues and sort of policy areas. So like a policy area like public space, parks and public space seems to be a common thread, Battery Park and Brooklyn Bridge and maybe Central Park as well. And then within that, we figure out who are the people we want to talk to. I think there's a new, I don't know the correct term, I apologize, but I think there's a new head for vendors that's recently appointed. And so, yeah.
And I know her, so
Oh,
I'm happy to introduce us.
All right, we solved the problem,
The
guys.
street vendors.
But to speak to what you're saying, that's part of the point of making a map of policies, to have a general list when there's a specific issue to figure out who we should reach out to as well. And so that's the answer.
And just one other comment, is whenever there is a city council meeting and you need bodies, you should make sure that GANYC members know, because we'll show.
I would love to have plenty of bodies, for sure. And that is part of the thing that we'll be keeping track of. And I guess that's the final question.
Yeah.
And I just want to say one time, please reach out if you're interested in attending meetings. You can reach me out by email, governmentrelations@ganyc.org. Thank you very much.
Next up, Bob Gelber for industry relations.
All right, so, I have an announcement to make that after, I think it's 3 years, I've been chair of industry relations, been on it for many more years. I have been working alone, but with a fantastic committee. But as of this moment, my new co-chair is Roche Maloney. I'm thrilled to welcome her to take over some of the projects that and she's great, and she threw herself into GANYC. Ro has only been here, how long? 2.5 years, and she's very active in the membership committee, so I'm really thrilled to have her. Because what's really happening right now is that GANYC is working to rebrand itself, and industry relations, which is our connection with the rest of the industry, we need to work on that too. So we're working on various projects. Matter of fact, we have a phone call tomorrow morning. I'll have to get up early. But thank you for taking on this responsibility. So, numerous people have mentioned the staycation from Metro North in Grand Central Terminal on the 13th. I just want to mention that the reason why we're there is because we have always had a great fan at Metro North. She's marketing, and her name is Donna Haynes. Donna Haynes found me 3 weeks ago, finishing a tour in Grand Central, and said, I was gonna call you tonight. And she offered us a free table, because the tables are hundreds of dollars, and we're getting half. So we're very excited to be there, and hopefully to introduce GANYC to as many people coming to that event about taking your vacation in New York. So, next, May 24th, the membership will once again be voting on a new industry partner. I had heard that several of you have looked up the city spiel, and it was either a suspicious or an inactive website. Well, that's because the owner of this new company just bought the URL. And she promised to put something up to explain what it was, and she has. So if you go to thecityspiel.com now, you will see an explanation of the kind of neighborhood tour she's going to do. So, all right, finally, next month's meeting is going to be at St. James Presbyterian Church in Harlem, and that's because of GANYC member Mark Satloff, who was sitting back there. Mark reached out to me a couple of months ago and said he's lived in Harlem for almost 30 years. It's his hood, he knows it, and he got to the church, and the Reverend Derek McQueen is a historian. He'll be our guest speaker that night, and we won't have to worry about seating because it holds about 500 people. So you can bring your cousins as well. And also, we're going to be posting that Mark is offering a pre-meeting fam of the neighborhood, which he knows, he's learned the history.
Nice.
Strivers Row. And you'll get to see the outside of his home at least. So, Mark, thank you very much, because it's
The church is gorgeous. The church is gorgeous.
Yes, it is. It's a beautiful church, and we're really privileged to be able to be there, just like we were to be here tonight. So before I leave, I just want to, I've mentioned it many, many times, but I want to thank my partner in crime, Harvey Davidson, of many, many years. Harvey is now an emeritus member of GANYC, and recently when we asked him if he would do something, he said, please don't bother me anymore. We have been bothering Harvey. Harvey is the man who created industry relations 20 years ago. He's the man who connected us with the National Federation of Tour Guides. He's the man who connected us with the World Federation of Tour Guides. Originally, Harvey was the person traveling the world representing GANYC and putting a face on it all over, so people all over the U.S. and all over the world would know that GANYC did exist. So Harvey, I will still annoy you on occasion, and when I'm in Cranford, I will call you and Harriet for lunch. But thank you for everything that you've ever done.
Not the anniversary. It's 10 o'clock. We'll hear from Michael Dillinger about the certification committee. Huh? A lot of people have been wanting to hear about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is a topic that.
Hopefully this is something that you've been waiting to hear. So I'm Michael Dillinger, Chair of the Certification Committee, and we are pleased to announce the schedule for our next 2 cohorts. So the certification program helps members focus on the skills that excellent guides share. Through the program, participants will implement their learning through group activities and the development of an actual tour that they will present to the committee and then be ready to sell to clients. So that there's at least half a dozen, some of them in the room right now, raise your hand, who are selling tours that they developed in the certification program. Excellent, look around, you can talk to them. Okay, so the program runs for, it's about 18 hours across 6 meeting dates and culminates in a private presentation for the committee members. Sessions incorporate a bus tour as well as a walking tour. Participants work together to improve their skills and offer feedback to each other. It is required to attend each date. There are no makeup dates are being offered, and there are 2 cohorts. One is going to run on Tuesdays, August 18th, 25, September 1, September 8, September 15, and September 29. And then the finals are in October. And then the following days for the Thursday cohort, August 20, August 27, September 3, September 10, September 17, and October 1st. All of them run 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a couple exceptions. The September 1st runs 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The September 15th is 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And in the Thursday cohort, the September 3rd runs 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the 17th runs 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. You can only sign up for one cohort. You cannot switch back and forth. You are in one or the other. These will be posted online, also be an email blast as well, so you can get this information. Attendance is mandatory at all of the sessions. As I said, there's no makeup sessions. The cost is $300, and you sell that tour once, and it's paid for. Your final project. So that's basically all we really have to report right now. Are there any questions about this at this time? Yes.
I am Suzanne Reisman. Will you send that in writing? Because that was a lot of information.
Yes, I just said it's going to go out an email blast, and it's going to be posted online, et cetera, et cetera. But we also want to make sure that registration, when we send out the e-blast, that the registration is open so that people can get right in. Because space is limited. I think we're going to limit each cohort to a maximum of 8 people in each cohort. Yes?
Hi, Anina. Are there any plans to do it at a different time of year?
At this time, no.
Okay.
Only because all of the people who run the course are working guides.
Okay.
And
And
this
so
is
September is
it's
the
the
best
time,
time?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Something else. No, he's checking his glasses. Okay.
All right.
Watch for the email blast.
Thank you so much. Worth doing if you can do it. It was quite an experience, and I got a really good tour out of it.
Sure did.
All right, now, last but not least, on the committee reports, we have Jeremy Wilcox on public relations.
Everyone hear me in the back? Great. Thank you, Daria. So this is the May 2026 Public Relations Committee report. And this is actually going to be my final report as chair of the Public Relations Committee. So I would like to announce that I will be, after nearly 10 years, I will be stepping down as chair of the PR committee. Cherie Davis, board member, will be taking over as interim chair, and I want to first actually lead by thanking her for her work on the committee and for agreeing to kind of take over that role as I step back and just simply exist as co-chair of the membership committee, education committee chair, and a couple of other things. Wow. As I noted, as many members know, I have chaired this committee since, I believe, late summer of 2016, so just about 9.5 years, and I am immensely proud of all the work I have done in that time to help move this committee forward. During my time as chair of what is one of GANYC's more outward-facing committees, I have helped to make GANYC a known entity to the travel and tourism media in New York and beyond, which in turn has helped, along with other committees, to make GANYC a respected entity to city government and other institutions. During my time, GANYC has been featured on New York 1, ABC 7, CBS 2, Pix 11, WNYC Radio, in the New York Times, Crain's New York, Time Out New York, and many other major media institutions. And particularly, I'm very proud of the time I spent working tirelessly during the COVID-19 pandemic to keep professional guides featured in media coverage about the impact of that disease to the New York City travel industry. I have also curated numerous newsletters for GANYC, press releases, and I believe a truly uncountable number of emails on behalf of this wonderful I initially joined both the organization and the committee in 2016, and first agreed to take over social media duties for the organization at that time. I am very proud of my work in that regard. GANYC has been and remains by far the most active tour guide association in the United States by a large measure, although some other organizations are doing quite well in that regard today. But this work in social media has also helped boost GANYC's profile among not only the wider industry, but among a lot of other professional guides, which in turn has aided GANYC's new member recruitment over the last 10 years. More than anything else, those are the metrics by which I believe this committee should always judge the success of its efforts. But a decade is a long time to serve, and I am ready to pass the torch to a new generation of members who I have zero doubt will share my passion for GANYC's public relation needs, and I look forward to helping see their efforts shine and to aiding them in any way I can. So I want to thank all the amazing members of our association for their support of the PR committee's efforts during the last decade, and all the other volunteers who work to keep this organization moving and growing. So thank you guys for my final report. One last thing in passing, which I forgot to put in my report, is GANYC is always looking for people to step up and volunteer. When I signed up to be on the PR committee, I had been a licensed guide for less than 6 months and a member of GANYC for just a few months. Michael will remember better, he was the president. I think within 9 months of joining the committee, I was its chair. I believe I was the first, this is back when we still had the provisional member distinction. I was the first provisional member to chair a committee. So it's, you're never too fresh in the organization to step up and make a difference. If you have anything for the committee, want to help out in any regards, public relations at GANYC.org. Sometimes people send an email to PR@GANYC.org. I have no idea where that goes, but so it's the full name, public relations at GANYC.org.
All right.
Thank you.
All the committee heads, to everybody who serves on a committee, it's the way that GANYC gets stuff done. So whatever you choose to do, please step up and do, like I said, you can do a little or you can do a lot. I think we had some new business. Bob, did you have something you wanted to say quickly before? We do need to be out of here a little earlier than we usually do, so. But Bob had a little new business.
Just a little quick thing. Most of you don't know, but a few of you do, that prior to COVID, I was in the Woolworth building as an official tour guide. That's it. And I was there for 6 years. Then recently I was invited back. So tomorrow night I'm doing a Woolworth tour, and I have 1 people registered, and you're all guides. You just want to shoot yourself because it's not easy to do a tour for so few people. I can have up to 15 people. So if there's anyone here who wants to come as my guest tomorrow at 6 p.m., you have to be on time, you have to bathe, you're more than welcome to come. I'd love to have you. Just email me so I know if you can. My email is Gelber, one word, @yahoo.com. And I'd love to have you. Okay? All right.
Bob Gelber at Yahoo?
Yes, Bob Gelber at Yahoo. All right, good.
All right, won't waste time by going up. I'm stupidly loud. So one of the things I think some new guides have said to me as a newer guide is during the fam tours that they would like to get more organized feedback. So we are working on a pilot. Sarah McGrath and I are working with the education committee. If you are interested When you sign up for a fam tour, there'll be a box to check that says, I'd like feedback. The feedback is 4 questions. 1, what are the strengths of this tour? There's like categories that all good tours should have, like storytelling, time management, group management, blah, blah, blah. The second question is, why did you pick these strengths? People could say like, oh, I love this because it was amazing. The third question is, what would you recommend strengthening? This is a very strengths-based feedback form, and it'll be those same categories. So like, let's say you rocked it on storytelling, but you let your group wander all over the street and people got hit by cars and stuff like that. Someone will check that off and write, you shouldn't let your group get hit by cars. That's things like that. And then the last question again would be optional, and the guide would just say how many years they've been guiding. The education committee will get the feedback. If there's something outrageously rude and inappropriate, you will not see that. We will make sure it, we'll give you a guide that makes sense. You'll have an opportunity, if you would like to follow up with the education committee, to talk more about it. But it's a way for people who want feedback. You do not have to take the feedback. You don't have to opt in. It's completely optional. But this is something we're going to be rolling out, probably in July, and we'll try it out for a few months. See how it's gone, get feedback from the people who got feedback, and see if this is something we want to continue doing.
One more piece of new business, Ella?
Just something very brief and just going off what you said with the report. Not everybody has a public GANYC profile. That is on the main website. So I'm Emma, I'm chair of the IT committee. You can always email me, it@ganyc.org, and I can help you walk through your profile. Because there are 2 things, especially for new members. When you have your profile on Wild Apricot, which is where you pay your dues, where you can put in your information, all of that. But the GANYC website, ganyc.org, the lovely, very robust website that we worked so hard to create for you all, that's where your profile is. And so you put your profile there, that is how people will find you. The question of the scams, bots scrape websites. So if your email is there, they can see it. If you don't like having your email there, you can always put your name and put @ in like brackets, and then dot in brackets as well. That can help prevent bots from finding you that way, so you don't get scam emails. But you'll still get them. I get random texts, I get random emails, but I also get people asking me for tours. So make sure your profile is published. When you've got it ready to publish, please email it@ganyc.org and say, can you give it a look-see and approve it, and then it'll be put on the website. But put your profile there and put a photo there and write a nice blurb. Do a little effort into it, and it's definitely worth your time.
Absolutely.
And be sure to add
Stand up, say your
contact
name, please.
information.
Stand up, say
phone
your
nu-
name.
My name is Mark.
Yeah.
Be sure in the profile, you must have contact information, phone number, or email address.
Yeah, and do the brackets if you're worried about it. And Marcus, he's my right-hand man. He actually does all the work, so, thank you.
All right. All right, we're gonna see everybody, as Bob said, we're gonna see everybody next month, June 3rd, at St. James Presbyterian Church, 409 West 141st Street. Gonna be a phenomenal guest speaker. I'm really looking forward to the Strivers Grove tour. So we'll see you.
And tonight at Judy Z's down on Carmine
Yep,
Street.
tonight.
Give me that address again, one more time. The address.
Well, we're gonna email it out between now and then. Jeremy, did you have something?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'm gonna just say, let me just say, that we're going to be down at Judy Z's Bar, 17th Avenue South, corner of Carmine Street. Yes, Mayor, have that motion, please.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.